Caitlin.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. Lots
I'm
of
Alyssa, with the brown sweater on. Love it. Early tonight, I was afraid I accidentally logged onto the Zoom earlier today, and I was like, oh no. And it started and everything recording, and I was like, oh no.
Oh gosh.
For tonight.
Yeah, I look very presentable right now, but that's all right. We're all monk.
Oh yeah, me either. I was like, you know what? They know me. They don't care.
I know.
No, whatever. Like she's got a bra on. We're good.
Yeah. You're better than me.
So when is your COVID test?
Thursday, and I just got a phone call. I got another resident positive, so
Another one?
Another one.
Jeez.
I can't.
Are you having to have all the tests too, Caitlin?
Mm-hmm. This is what, almost number 20?
18. We're going for the 18.
I heard it's painful. Is it really painful to have it?
No, we don't have the long one. It's just shorter, yeah.
Oh, okay. Somebody was saying something about they stick something in your nose, or
It is. It goes up, but it's not like the whole.
it doesn't feel like it's on your brain.
No, and you get used to it.
Describe it that way. They were like, I think it's like scraping my brain.
Yeah. No.
Which sounds scary. I don't know. I'm gonna wait a few minutes. It's not 8 yet. Oh, my son, good night. Just a second.
Oh, is Tom home?
Yeah, he is. He's gonna put him to bed, but
Good.
good for lots of screaming. He likes mommy to put him to bed.
Yeah.
So there's that. Okay, just a second. Okay, I am going to just get started. I know we have people who do not want to stay up all night, so I'm going to be quick and get through this. I have some slides to share with you. Glad you guys all were able to jump on with us. Is it anybody's first team call ever? No? Okay, awesome. Let me share my screen. am going to talk about social media strategies that are working right now. I am not going to go into storytelling and all that. Linda did a great job with that call last week. There are some great books we can recommend about that, and I love to talk about that, and I think it's really important to learn to tell stories well and to tell your story well, but that's not the topic of this call. The topic of this call is strategies that are working right now to increase engagement for you, that are going to bring you more followers, because those are the questions I get asked the most. Like, how do I increase my engagement? How do I get more followers? How do I get more eyes on my page? That type of thing. So that's what I'm addressing specifically tonight. And I'm going to talk about Instagram, but everything that I'm going to talk about can very easily be applied just as well to Facebook. Exactly the same thing can apply to Facebook. So I'm going to start with a quote that I like. You see it, there's our faces covering them. I'll read it to you just in case you can't really see it. It's important that we share our experiences with other people. When you tell your story, you free yourself and give other people permission to acknowledge their own story. And our main goal in everything we do on social media is to add value, to connect with others, to have other people see themselves in our shoes and go, you know what, me too, and have other people relate to us. And so that really is our goal in everything we do on social media. So when you post, you know, don't be reactive and just like throw something up to throw something up. It needs to be always posting with a purpose. And so always think about, it's important to think ahead of time about what you're going to post and when and kind of what it's going to look like and all that. But so I want you to, if you haven't thought about that now, start thinking about that and how others can see themselves in your story. And you know what, I started with I started Instagram when it was brand new and I was coaching and I probably had, 10 people following me or something. And so I've steadily grown my Instagram account and my Facebook business page and other pages, my personal page, but it's been like just consistent effort and doing things that I know are going to increase engagement and bring people in because they know me and they trust me and they want to follow me. And so that's what you want to do. And it all starts with adding more value. The number one thing I can tell you is if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm just, my invites are falling flat or I'm not getting any traction, I would always tell you to look at what value you are providing to your followers, to your audience. What kind of value? Because we live in the world we live in right now. People want to know what's in it for them. There are a million people they can follow. They want you to provide value before you ever ask them to join you, before you ever ask them to pay for something. They want you to be consistently giving them value. And so the way that I like to do this, to address it, is a 3x3 method, 3x3 methodology. And this is from a lot of different research from people who are experts in the area, my own research, masterminds, things like that, and other leaders in our network that I've spoken with. So 3x3s of Instagram, so three types of stories and 3 types of posts. And that's what I am going to go into today. And that will give you more eyes on your page, people trusting you more, following you more. So when you do invite, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so in whatever you were doing because I feel so connected to you. That's our goal. Okay, so first, I'm going to talk about stories first, and then I'll get into posts. But for your stories, you always have like the fluff, like the dog stuff, the school stuff, the kids stuff, the job stuff, whatever it is. Like I call that your fluff. Like I can video my kids all day, but that should not be all that I have in my stories. So it's important to do, I always think, 3 different kinds of stories, and you can do a couple of these a day, or you can kind of just sit down and make sure you're adding value in these 3 ways each day. The first one is B-roll type footage. And so there's an app called Hyperlapse that you can use. You can use Reels if you have that feature. You can use the sped up version. Basically what this does, and I gave you an example here, but it's a behind the scenes. So you're sharing a screenshot into your life, and it can be like what normally might take an hour, like let's say your power hour or your morning routine or your workout. There are kids coming in and out of your workout if you do them with, at the same time your kids are awake. It can be a recipe going through, it normally would take 30 minutes or an hour, but people are not going to sit there and watch it for 30 minutes or an hour. So the Hyperlapse just gives you, or the Reels sped up will just give you like a little, like 15 seconds worth or 30 seconds worth or 1 minute worth instead of 30 minutes, because you're not going to capture anybody's attention for that long. So it's basically a day in the life. You're taking somebody through a process. And this is how you can sort of do that, this example. But it invites people to see your experience. This is what it's like in my life to do what I do. This is what my power hour looks like. And then this is what I do. This is what when I get up in the morning, these are the steps that I take. This is what my workout looks like. This is what, the meal the chili that I'm making tonight. This is the process for that. Whatever you do in your life, you basically want to go, okay, this is how I have to do it. And I'm going to show you how easy it is because you can do it too. Or maybe it's not so easy, but I can make it work. Because I can make it work, I know you can also. So that's basically what you're doing with these types of posts. You're sharing your own experience and showing how it works for you. So those are, I call them B-roll footage, but you can use hyperlapse again or reels if you have it. I don't have reels yet. The second type are what most of us do, and that's the talking head. So that's when you have your phone propped up like right in front of you. You can use a filter or not use a filter, whatever, but it's in front of you and you're talking to the camera, kind of intimately. And you want to talk like you're talking to your best friend, not like, has anyone ever, that's like a broad net. You want the person who's on the other side to feel like you're actually talking to them. So just like one-on-one, like your best friend. So really kind of practice that. But what very frequently happens is we just chatter about nonsense because we don't think it through. And then we're like on the, you get like 4 frames that are 15 seconds each. When you get to like, you're on like 3 or 4 already. And you're like, oh crap, I haven't talked about anything I wanted to say. And I have all this wasted stuff. So delete it, take a pause, delete all that stuff that when you didn't say anything, compose yourself, compose your thoughts, and think through exactly what you want to say, and then do it again. Because you don't want to ramble on forever. You want it to be like 4, 8, maybe 12 frames max. So you want to just get it in as quickly as you can. But this is where you want to give a couple tips. You want to, maybe a tutorial. You can do, a problem that somebody was telling you about in your DMs, a problem one of your challengers had, a problem, like you want to think about your market, problems that they are experiencing today that you can address. And then just a couple of tips or a quick tutorial. And it needs to be just like short and sweet. But think of it like a commercial break. You want to do these like a couple times a day. So just like very brief. They don't need to be call to action every single day. Like this is where, remember, you're providing value. So think value and not like, what can I ask of people or what can I get from someone else? Think about it as value. You want to just provide value. Quick and concise. And the thing about these is you have no outside noise. So you don't have, it's literally just your face there. And you can do it again, like I said, a couple times a day. So that's the talking head. And you can see, like, it's important. I think a lot of people don't listen to this is kind of a side note, but a lot of people are not listening. They don't have the volume turned up because they're watching at work or something like that. Most people actually watch in the toilet, but anyway, stories. But so you guys probably do, right? Yeah, raise your hand if you watch them on the toilet. So hopefully you wash your hands well and sanitize your phone. But anyway, that's a whole nother, that's neither here nor there. But so if you have like captions on your pictures, it's really helpful because so often people can't listen to the volume, or they're already like a few in and they realize, oh, I should be listening to this, and they turn it up and they miss half of it. So have like a little bit like the high points, what you're saying across the bottom of your picture, and that's helpful too. So if they can't listen to it, they can read what it is that you are saying. And there are actually apps that will do that too, or you can just do it in Instagram directly. So that's type 2. And then the third type of story is your static images. So if you're like I am, you take a lot of pictures of yourself, or your kids take pictures of you or whatever, and I just have them on my camera roll for a rainy day. Whenever I need a picture of myself, I have them there just in case. But what you want to do with this is use like your brand colors. If you're brand new and haven't thought about that, maybe think about what you want. What kind of represents you. For me, I use blues a whole lot. I have a very kind of specific look that I like. And so maybe it's in your brand colors. Maybe you're using the presets that you use on your actual page, on your posts. If you use presets, or you can use Snapseed or whatever finish that you like. If you use a preset, then you can match that. This is a good time to do that. But basically it keeps your face in the story. And that's what's important about that. So you want to create you want to keep your face in the story, but you want to create the like tap, tap, tap sequencing here. And so like you can do a poll like I did in this first one. You can do like this, if you need more accountability, these workouts are 30 minutes a day. It's 5 days a week, whatever it is. If you're telling them about a program, or if you're telling them about a recipe, or it can really be anything. You can use, it can be a call to action, but it certainly doesn't have to be. But you can use Unfold or Canva if you want to make like really pretty ones, or if you just want to throw up like your own picture, do like lighten the background a little bit so you can write over it easily. And then, if you have the swipe up feature, you can use that, or just DM me or whatever you want to say. But you can just do that, and it's just a static image, and it keeps them moving forward because they're doing the tap, tap, tap thing, but your face is still there. And so it keeps you in the story, but you're adding value. There's no video here. They don't have to listen to this. It's literally just, it's my connection's unstable. Can you guys still hear me? Yes, no? Yes, okay. I can only see Caitlin, so it's like just Caitlin's face. But anyway, so you just want that sequencing, tap, 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 and think about that. So you can do that, once a day or whatever. That works really well. But that's just another way to provide value. You could do it with a recipe. I don't know if I said that already. You could do it with a recipe. You could do it with workout, moves or modifications. If you didn't want to do a video, you could do like this, like different stretches. Just be creative and think about different things that happen. Like, think about your life and like, how do I make this work? And then that's what you're sharing with the world. So with your followers in particular. So that is static images. And then now we get to the fun stuff, I think, the posts. So I told you I'm gonna try to talk fast so I can get you guys out of here and not keep going on. But so there are 3 types of posts, and I will call them the 3 V's. And the first one is viral posts. And I'm not saying like you necessarily need to create something that will go viral, but your goal with this is to bring new eyes onto your page. It's to create shareable content. So you want to look at you want to have people saving things, sharing things, and they can share it to their stories or their feed or whatever, saving it. If you look at your insights, my posts like this are always the most shared. Like I get hundreds of shares, even thousands sometimes of shares, and so many likes. But it doesn't have to be something that you have written or created yourself. It can be there are some funny, if you're a mom and you might like Scary Mommy or some of those accounts that are really, sometimes are really hilarious. So maybe it's a screenshot of that. And if you think it's really funny, your followers are going to really think it's funny too, because your momisms or memes, because your followers are very much like you generally. So those are your people. So whatever you think is funny or a great quote that really resonates with you, that's what you would post. You can save those and you can literally just screenshot it and save it. And what's important to note right here is you want to think less about what your feed looks like and more about serving the people who are there. So it's really important to not always worry about maybe that's just a break and they're somebody who's following you or just scrolling Instagram, and that's just a break where they get to laugh. And so it can be that. It can be an infographic. It can be, you wrote a note on your phone and you just took a picture of that and posted it. It can be a momism. It can be just anything shareable. And I gave you some examples here. A quote, I think Simon Holland's hilarious. And then quote, sometimes I'll do my own quotes and sometimes I do other people's quotes and I put it in the colors that I use in my own layout, but you don't have to do that at all. It's really more important to just create value than it is to have it look a certain way. So those are some things you do. You want to do a few viral posts. Well, it depends how much you're posting a week. I advise on Instagram every other day or every third day even. As for a post, you want to do more stories, but as far as a post goes, but you can do a couple of those, or at least once a week, do something like that. I usually do about one a week like that. And that's what that looks like. But so what you need to be doing is saving content you love. If there's a quote you love, save it. If there is a funny meme that you think is hilarious, save it. Because if you think it is, somebody else is going to think it is too. And then just write a little caption to create engagement. Something about what you thought about. And does anybody else have this experience, or does anybody else feel this on a deep level? Or my mom's out there, ask a question. So you always want to think about how to engage your audience. So even using this stuff, engage your audience. But this is stuff that's already working that you don't necessarily have to create. You can, certainly, but you don't have to. You just want to think like, what would get shared? And that brings new eyes onto your page, as I said. And that's really important, because when people start sharing your stuff, that's when you get so many new followers organically. And you're not having to, like, you're not paying for them, you're not doing ads, they're just coming to your page because you post really hilarious stuff, or you post, you know, really valuable stuff. If you're not like a person, like I love to laugh, and so I post a lot of things that I just think are hilarious. But if you're not like that, then you don't have to pretend to be like that. So post what's authentic to you. So if it's not funny to you, or you don't, whatever, if you're like, that's stupid, then that's not what you want to post, because you want to connect with the people who are like you in your niche. So that was about the viral. The second V is value posts. And this, obviously, like the name suggests, these are posts that add value. And so you already have, like I said before, the viral posts bring new eyes in. The value posts help you create a tighter bond with the people who are already there. So you're just connecting on a deeper level. You give them something they need. So you think problem, title, outline. That's kind of the structure you follow. And the problem needs to be something that what are your people struggling with right now? That's the problem. Like whatever your people are struggling with, then the title, and then an outline for that. And so basically, like, I get a lot of moms following me because I'm a mom. So my problem is I can't work out with my 5 kids. I don't have 5 kids, I have 3 kids. But it's impossible for me to work out with kids. How do you do that? So that would be the problem, right, that my followers are experiencing. So I address that in the very beginning, like as the problem. You want to make something that's eye-catching, like a hook, so to speak, and say something like, I want to share my 5 ways to ensure that you can work out at home and kids will not be your excuse to not get it done, or whatever, something that's more eloquent than that, because that was just like my off the cuff example, but you get the point. So that's a problem. And then, you know, you make that into the title, and then you give the steps. Like, these are my 5 steps. This is how I do it. You know, whatever it is you're reading is a great place to get things from, like your personal development or a podcast. I mean, even Google, but you want to be sure you're not just like these are the reasons you should drink water. Like, I mean, well, that's important, I guess. Like, it's important to also infuse you in that. And you don't want to just be like didactic or preachy. You want to make sure that you're infusing yourself into the post. And so what's something that your people struggle with? Most people know they need to drink more water. So telling them like why they need to drink more water isn't necessarily that helpful. And that's just an example. But think about your life and how you make things work, and how you can offer that up as valuable content for someone who might struggle with that. The Beachbody blog is a great place to find examples too, like they have some great articles there. So there's some great content that you can use for your post there too. But basically that's just where you're giving steps. You're connecting on a deeper level and giving steps with like how you overcame that. You know, I didn't feel like working out today. This is what I do when I have 0 motivation. And then, you know, just tell them that, but infuse yourself into it by telling them like, why does this matter? I got this DM from one of my challengers, and she was saying, sometimes she just doesn't care what she puts in her mouth. And then address that. This is what I have to say to her. This is what I would tell her. And maybe you could benefit too, because she's having this problem. There are probably a lot of other people who are having this issue as well. So that's your sort of segue. You talk about like, why are you addressing this particular issue, and then go into the bullet points or the tips that you have. Value, this is where most of your posts should be in this realm. And then make sure I wrote said everything I wanted to here. So we all know I can talk. All right, the next one, the last V here is vulnerable posts. And I think new coaches struggle here. Veteran coaches are a lot better typically at this. They can tell their story, just they've been doing it a little bit longer. But it's a really important skill for you to learn if you're a new coach as well. Just get really good at sharing your story and connecting vulnerably. That's the stuff where we connect at the deepest level. The things that people are, they latch onto, and they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know there was anybody else like that. I'm so thankful you shared that. And the whole point of this type of post is to get more comments and DMs. This is like the ultimate trust. When you are sharing vulnerably, they are just like sending you messages about like thanking you for sharing that because they struggle with this too. Or like my eating disorder past, if I share about that, I get so many messages like, my daughter is struggling with this. How can I help her? What can I do for her? What can I say to her? So that's kind of that's the purpose of sharing. You don't share without a purpose. There has to be a purpose behind it. So why are you sharing this content? And the way to do this, you can see the examples here, but it doesn't have to be about inviting. In fact, most of these types of posts that I'm giving you don't have anything to do with a call to action. You do want a call to action at the end of this, but a call to action can be like, drop an emoji if you're feeling me, if you feel this, or tag a friend who you think would benefit from this, or give me a heart if you read to the end, whatever. So it can be literally anything as a call to action, but you want to encourage people to engage with you on your post. So ask a question or ask them to do something in response to reading your post. I'm going to give you the little, so often we'll say like, tell your story, be vulnerable. And new coaches in particular are like, okay, but how? But how do I do that? And so there's a little formula. This was also from a mastermind that I wanted to share with you guys. And it's the HICA formula. And you have the hook, the introduction, the content, and then the call to action. You guys will have my slides if you don't want to write everything down. I'll give them all to you. But so the HICA formula, and this is how do I go even deeper? Your hook is a bold question or an unpopular opinion generally. It is something like Beachbody being an MLM, or it could be like a pyramid scheme rather. So like people's ideas about MLMs, or people thinking Beachbody is a pyramid scheme, or it could be, literally anything, like about something related to body image if you have struggled with that in your life, which most women have at some point. It could be related to nutrition in some way, just like your story, right? So a bold question that somebody asks you, or a misconception, or it can be whatever happened that triggered this, like the reason you're posting about this was a comment made to you that you heard and it resonated, or you just sat with and you want to share because you went back to that place when you were 21 years old and you were experiencing these feelings. And so that's where you start. So that's the hook. The introduction is where you tie it together. It's where you say, I read this quote, or I heard this podcast, and the woman was talking about X, and it really sat with me because I've been there. I remember these feelings. And then you go into the story and you talk about, it's basically the segue. That's the introduction. So the segue from the question or the hook into the content. And so you don't want to just share your story without talking about the content. Part of it is what you did that helped, how you overcame that situation. Maybe you still struggle with it sometimes, but what's helping? There's no reason to share it if you're not going to talk, like what's the purpose, unless you're sharing to help someone else. So the content is where you can put bullet points or tips. Well, this is what's helped me get through that. And so it's really important not to leave that part out. Otherwise, there's no real point to share something unless you're doing it for a purpose, which would be to help someone else. And so make sure that you're not just sharing gratuitously, just to like, oh, I'm so sorry you went, people feeling sorry for you or whatever. And nobody on this team would do that. But just always think about, okay, like why is this important? Why am I sharing this? And what have I done? And today was such a struggle with my kids. And this is an example, it really wasn't, but today it was not. But so like, it was such a struggle with my kids. They were fighting, and it took me back to a time when, whatever, and then just share like vulnerably, like, or maybe, I was yelling, and I hate yelling at my kids, and it's not the person I want to be. And what did you do? Did you do a meditation? Did you pray? How did you, what did you do? Did you apologize to them? What are some tips when you're in those moments and you're just like, are beside yourself and you just need air? And you're just like, we've been there. So think about your life and how it's applicable, like whatever is going on in your life that you're going through that's difficult. And it looks different for everybody because we're all in different phases of life, but whatever it is that you're going through, like just be vulnerable about that, own your mistakes, but talk about how you're overcoming it. What are you doing to get better? what are you doing to make sure that you don't stay in that place? So that's what you do here. And then remember the call to action at the end, where you just say, like, tag a friend below if you have experienced this, or let me know what your favorite things, the way that you respond to this that has worked best for you, or how you get your kids to do X, or whatever it is. That's your call to action. So it doesn't ever really need to be like, join me in my group, because you notice that it can be, but you notice most of these, like I said, I don't necessarily talk about that. But so that's the basis of your social media feed. It's those types of posts. So if you're like, I don't know what to post about, go to these. Have I done a viral post lately? Have I done a vulnerable post lately? Have I given value lately? When you do these things, you're going to have people joining you when you send those invites, because they're going to be like, I feel so connected to you. I want to do this. When you're asking about coaching, or asking about, talking about the community or whatever, they're going to listen and they're going to get it, because you've been adding all this value, that they're in it with you, and they feel like they know you really well, and they're gonna trust you. So you always just want to say, what does my ideal person need to hear today? If you're not sure what to post, what does my ideal person need to hear? What was I struggling with when I joined, when I said yes? What was I struggling with at that low point in my life? What am I struggling with today? What did I struggle with last week? Like, make a list if you need to. Just always have like a running list or a note in your phone that is basically like a list of your struggles. Where am I struggling? What can I share that's of value to my people? And it doesn't need to be this huge thing. It can be like seemingly minor and insignificant. And especially if you've been doing this a while, like we forget that a lot of people don't know how to do some of the really basic things that we do. And so it can be, think about those little things and where you were when you started. And maybe it's how to deal with just the world right now and COVID and whatever. Like, just think about what your person needs to hear, and that's where your post should always go. So when you can add in the fluffy, so you can add in your kids and your dog and whatever else, like you can mix that stuff in. But the bulk of it needs to be these types of posts. And so when we get off, I have a little challenge for you. I want you to create 15 value posts, 15, just bullets or like ideas or whatever. 15 of those. I want you to do 10 viral ones. So go to accounts that you love, that you think are hilarious, that you think are super informative or helpful, and start just screenshotting or saving those posts. And then 5 vulnerable posts. The vulnerable posts, I would only do like once a week, maybe twice a week. It doesn't need to be. If you're posting like every day, you could maybe do them twice a week, but it doesn't need to be like an everyday kind of thing. And again, I only post every other day or every third day on Instagram. Facebook, there's a little more leeway there. You can post every day if you want to. I would not post more than once a day, just because you start competing. So there are all these people, millions of people who are posting on Facebook, and especially if you have a big market, especially if you have a lot of friends, and those people have a lot of friends and whatever, they're not going to see your stuff, or Facebook's going to give them one of your posts, but not both of your posts. And so you don't want to be posting all the time. It just doesn't help you, and it doesn't make sense. So if you have like a really fluffy, like funny post, I do a lot of that too on Facebook, but you would post it early in the day and then another one late in the day. So don't post too close together. But mix in the fluffy. So your homework, 10 value, 15 value, 10 viral, and 5 vulnerable posts. And then you can kind of plan it, Planoly, or you can use another app to do that. Planoly is the one I usually use. But kind of plan out your post, what it's going to look like, and you can find the pictures or whatever after the fact. But anyway, it's just important to remember why you're doing this, and always post with purpose, and remember that your goal is connection. First and foremost, your goal is connection and to add value. So what does my ideal person need to hear? How can I impact her life today? That's what you should ask. And that's all I have for you, I think. Oh, sorry. Here's this. I gave you examples. I didn't realize I didn't forward the slides. Sorry. I'll give you the slides. These are examples. So you give the juicy details and the HICA formula and the vulnerable. And that's where, if you're having like a leadership issue or whatever, everybody around you is being really negative, this is what leadership looks like. It's not knowing all the answers, but knowing more than, or as a coach, it's not knowing all the answers, but being one step ahead of someone else to be able to coach them along. It's that kind of thing in the content section. And then, like I said before, you want to get your followers engaged. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I think. Figure out how. So there it is. Where's Nicole when I need her? Okay. She's probably on. I think she's on. Okay. So do you guys she is? Okay. I didn't see anybody except for Caitlin, so I didn't know who was on. Do you guys have any questions, comments? Now would be the time to ask. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, could you tell us what, or you type it up or something, how many of each post you said would be good to prepare?
15 of the value, 10 of the viral, and 5 of the vulnerable.
Okay, thank you.
Cori, I have a question. Are you still, like when it's not really so much as posting, but like following people, finding people in your, market, I guess, on Instagram? Like I'm finding a lot of people are doing that whole like to know it thing. And so they're like all in, like it's getting more difficult, I feel. Are you still doing the same process you were doing?
Yeah, I still find micro influencers. So, I think that maybe that means you're just finding the wrong accounts. Mm-hmm. And that takes a little bit of time to find the right accounts. But I look for ones that have like between 10,000 people and never over 100,000 people. So like even smaller than that, if they're super niche, like I was telling JL the other day, like Apache Bells, which is where one of the pieces I danced in college. So their account is not that large. They have like a few thousand followers, but I am all over that one because we already have like that's strong. Like going through that is like a super strong connection that I have with those people. And so because it's so niche that it makes sense to do that. So if you have something like that, like a specific church that you go to, or specific like preacher, pastor, or whatever, or it could be there's several healthy restaurants here that I follow that are just Dallas restaurants. They're not chains, and I interact with those people a lot because they're my people. And so it's just finding those kinds of accounts. So it could be where you live. It didn't have to be. But it really just depends. Maybe it's an author who is newer, but who you're like, oh my goodness, this is like, you just soak everything up that you read from that person, or somebody even who has a blog or something like that. But again, you just like, you feel like she's your person, then those are the types of accounts that I really focus on.
So are you commenting underneath their comments, or
So I have alerts set. So whenever they post, I have an alert set. And I can't always go in real time, but if I can, then I'll go when they post and try to interact in real time with the people who are commenting and interacting on their feed, because that means that they're active on Instagram, on the platform, which is important, and they know how to use social media, and they're not going to not talk to you in 2 years because that was the only time they ever posted, which that happens. And so that, and then you also know if they're engaging there, then they're probably your people too. So I do that, and sometimes I just follow those people, and I don't send a comment to new followers, people who follow me. I think Debbie was asking this in one of the threads, but I don't do that actually. I send a message sometimes to people I follow. So when I am a new follower for somebody, if there's somebody who I think is like, has tons of potential and I really think they're like my people, or I just connect with them, then I feel like we can be best friends. Then I'll send them a message and be like, I'm a new follower. I love your feed. I can't wait to learn from you, or whatever. I'm the one who sends that message. So I get a really good response from that.
I do the same. Yeah.
Like, you're not asking them for anything in return. You're basically just saying, they always follow you back just naturally, but pretty much most of the time, but just, they're kind of flattered and taken off guard. And they're not like, oh gosh, what is she selling? They're just, it's kind of like the defenses come down, I do that.
Yeah, I've done that. It's been successful.
Yeah, I think I've told you guys about that. But I'm still growing pretty steadily. I think I got like 135 new followers last week, which is higher than normal. Normally I get like, I don't know, 80 to 90 lately a week. But then I lose some too. So if you look at my insights, the net is like, maybe I gained 135 and maybe I lost 20 or whatever. So it's not just like steady only increasing. I also lose. So don't be like, if you're losing people, that's totally normal, and don't freak out about that. And honestly, like, I'm always kind of glad when I do, because I'm like, sweet, I'm not going to waste my time talking to those people. And also it kind of messes you up in the algorithm, because if you have a ton of followers, but you have really low engagement, then that's not helpful for you. They don't show your stuff to a lot of people. So you want to make sure that you are serving the people at your table and really trying to connect with the people who are there, so they're engaging, and then you'll be able to bring more people in, because Instagram will show up to more people. So at least that's how it works right now. It changes all the time, but that's how it's working currently. Any other questions? No? None? Lots of no faces today. Lots of people. Must be people who are naked or something. You turn your camera off, that's what we're going to assume. You're either going to the bathroom or you're naked. Or I guess that could be both together. If you're like my 3-year-old, he doesn't wear any clothes ever, except at school, I guess.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
Are you, when you're getting these people, are you still doing like the follow, unfollow?
No. I unfollow periodically. Like, I'm not lately. I got thrown in jail like 3 times in Instagram because I was unfollowing too many people. And that was really frustrating because it shut everything down. I could only post stories. It shut everything down for like a week each time. And so that was really super annoying. So I try not to unfollow too many people at once. But it's more like if I see something in my feed and I'm like, who is this person? Like, why am I following this person? And then I'll like unfollow. Or, you know, if it's offensive or if it's just like, what? Like, you know, I want my feed filled with people who are like happy and energetic and bring something to the table. And not like, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but if people are posting things that I find offensive, then you know, I unfollow them when I see that stuff.
In other words, you see these people on, because I've got some numbers, but they're not my people, you know, and they're not, I'm suffering from the algorithm or whatever. And so I'm just trying to figure out how are you getting that many followers? You're going to these people and you're talking to them on the influencers page. Are you following them with hopes
yeah,
and
usually not every time, but I'll watch their stories. If they post stories, I like to engage the most in stories. That's where I do most, because I feel like it's the easiest to come up with something to say, and it is the most natural to me. So if I'm able to, that's what I generally do, is watch their stories.
But you can't watch their stories unless you're
I
following.
have a public account, yeah.
Okay.
So if I feel like, if based on our exchange or something, I think they're like a really good fit, then I'll follow them or request to follow them. But I don't every time. It just kind of depends. It's not at all like a standardized system. It's more just like get a feel for the person.
Okay, thank you.
I don't track that or anything. So like, you know, I don't write the person's name down or anything like that. You know, sometimes if we are having a conversation and then I request to follow them, and then I might send them a message if they like accepted the request. But it's not an every time kind of thing.
Okay.
Like if I get that notification that's like, so-and-so accepted your request, you know, and she's a really good prospect, or it's just somebody I really think is awesome, then, you know, I might send her a message. But really, that's my goal generally, and I've said this before, but my goal is to look for people I want to hang out with, people who I'd be friends with outside of Beachbody, outside of you know, any job or anything else, just people I would like to hang out with. And so those are the people that I typically look for. And I want hard workers. Those are my 2 things. Like, give me a hard worker and somebody who I like, you know, or, you know, is fun, is positive, and I would connect with. Stories. Weird. You're not in jail or anything? Does it say anything like that? No? Huh, I don't know why. Oh, you're trying to make your kids sleep. Yeah, I understand that. Tommy was on duty for that tonight. Okay, any other questions or anything else? Was it helpful? I don't even know if it was helpful. So hopefully it was. Hopefully you got something from it and you can at least have kind of a roadmap and know where you're going with your post and kind of be able to look at your feed and go, oh, what have I not? I've not done something viral lately. You know, I do that. Every third post is a viral post for me on my feed. If you look at my feed, you can see that. No, it's every fourth. Every fourth post is a viral post for me. And I started doing that like a year and a half ago or something, a while ago. But those are the posts that do really, really well. And sometimes, like I said, they're my own quotes. Sometimes they're other people's quotes. Sometimes they're funny. You know, it can be, like I said before, an infographic or anything like that. But I do that every fourth. I have like a structure to mine because I'm OCD and whatever, probably just ODD. But but I like that structure, and so that's just the way I do it personally. But again, it's more about serving the people than it is about like it looking a certain way. So don't get hung up on the way it looks. Think more about like the value that you're providing. Yeah, mine gets shared so many times. Even in Facebook, like on my like page, they get shared a ton. That's where I get like all my, I haven't done ads in years. I did ads on Facebook like years ago, but I literally haven't done them in years. And all my, like anytime I get new followers, it's from things like that, from the viral posts. All right, well, I'm not going to keep you just to keep you. So I know people on our East Coast at least need to go to bed. Hold on, let me read this comment. Oh, I'm so glad you joined us. That's awesome, Cheryl. We are glad you're here, and hopefully it won't be the last team call. All right, so if that's it, I'll post the recording on the team page. You guys have an awesome evening, and I will see you tomorrow or online. Bye.
Thanks, Cori.
Most welcome.
Good night, Cori.
Good night, Joanne.